This is CBC Here and Now.
Why? That's the first thing that comes to my head. Why? Why would someone do that? They could be someone I know, they could be my parents, they could be anyone.
Tonight, the country mourns a brutal attack. The targeted killing of a Muslim family in Ontario. In this province, some members of the Muslim community wonder, could it happen here? A new testing site today in Gander for Walmart employees after a positive case was identified in the store.
A large section of the West Coast is still under alert level 4.
A lot of people are super anxious, obviously.
We need to work hard to shut this down as quickly as we can.
The cluster of cases keeping many people home.
It's shaping up to be the hottest day of the year so far, so we decided to come to Bannerman Park to see what everybody is doing on a nice sunny day.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. I'm Carolyn Stokes. We start tonight with the tragic story out of southwestern Ontario. A fatal hate crime was committed against a Muslim family. It happened in London. It's a half a country away, but as Here and Now's Katie Breen reports, the Muslim community in this province is feeling the weight of that attack.
Her heart sank when she saw the story. Anay Abdelgerba worried how close it would hit to home.
My family is in Ontario, so once I read it, the first thing I read was in Ontario. I didn't read the city, so I was very worried about my family.
It was another family in another city, waiting to cross an intersection, intentionally targeted because of their faith. Police say a 20-year-old, now charged with murder, carried out a premeditated hit and run, killing 4 members of the family. The youngest was the only survivor, a 9-year-old boy, now in hospital with serious injuries.
I just can't wrap my head around the fact that someone would do that, and what would be the motive? What did they gain from doing that?
That basically has made our families here and all over Canada totally taken by surprise and totally devastated.
Prasada says the threat is real. Islamophobia is on the rise, even in this province. He says the Muslim community is feeling insecure. They're holding a special sermon here on Friday to honor the victims, but he says more needs to be done.
I'm not sure why the politicians and everybody is waiting. And what are they waiting for? Are they waiting for a huge disaster to happen, or do they want to really take concrete steps?
Abdelgerba wears a religious garment, and that's scary, she says, to be so identifiable. But she says she won't change what she believes in just because someone else carried so much hatred in their heart.
As Muslims, we're part of the community. We're not I don't like just separating people based on their faith. We're all part of one community. So what we should do here is just protect each other and look after each other, no matter what faith or what religion we practice.
Katie Breen, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, the Prime Minister is in London, Ontario for tonight's vigil at the family's mosque. Today, he condemned Sunday's attack, calling it a brutal, cowardly, and brazen act of violence.
3 generations of the Afzul family, Salman, Madia, their children Yumna and Fayaz, and their grandmother. Their lives were taken in a brutal, cowardly, and brazen act of violence. This killing was no accident. This was a terrorist attack motivated by hatred in the heart of one of our communities.
Well, at the House of Assembly today, MHAs also condemned the violence in London, Ontario, and offered support to the local Muslim community. Here in Now's Mark Quinn reports.
It was an attack of cowardice and of evil.
The violence in central Canada has shaken people across the country. Today, politicians were offering support to those affected in this province.
I know the Muslim community is rightfully worried about their safety and their place in the community. I wish to reassure that you are valued, you're respected, and supported during this difficult time. The province stands with you.
It was a heinous crime motivated by heinous beliefs. I would even go so far to call it an act of terrorism.
The NDP's Jim Dinn strongly condemned the violence and said Newfoundland and Labrador isn't immune to hateful acts of racism.
Although this tragedy did not happen here, I'm sadly all too aware of the fact that Islamophobia exists here too. To the Muslims of Newfoundland and Labrador, I say that you are not alone and you are an integral part of our communities. I call on our fellow members of this House and all people of our province to stand up to hate and call it out wherever and whenever you see it.
It was a message that reached across party lines, with the PCs echoing a similar sentiment.
Sunday evening's attack was a hateful crime perpetrated against a Canadian family. To be honest, Mr. Speaker, I was personally upset to hear this tragic and brutal act of hatred.
Politicians here gave their condolences to people who are mourning in London, Ontario today, and they promised to work with local communities to end hate violence. Mark Quinn, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, hard to complain about today for many people in this province. It was a very, very hot day. 32, I had to write this down on my hand so I don't forget, 32.3 degrees was the provincial hotspot, and that was in Terra Nova. And that's one of the hottest temperatures that they've had in years. But now, what other weather is on the way? We're going to sun, and more sun. The temperatures are going to drop overnight, but the sun is going to stay. And there is a possibility that people in Labrador could see some snow. Say it ain't so, but we're going to take a look at all of that and more coming up later on in the show.
Thanks, Jeremy. Well, a man in this province has died as a result of COVID-19. This is the 7th fatality in Newfoundland and Labrador from the virus. The man was over 70 and lived in the Eastern Health region. News of the death comes as the province adds 3 new confirmed cases today. 2 are in the Western Health region. 1 is a male under 20 whose case is connected to the outbreak in the region. The other case is still under investigation. And the 3rd case is a man over 70 in central Newfoundland. There are now 62 active cases on the island, with 1 person in hospital. Well, health officials in Gander are setting up a testing site tomorrow just for Walmart employees. That's where Here Now's Garrett Barry is tonight. So Garrett, why is the health authority setting up this very specific testing center?
Very specific indeed. Central Health tells us that it's in response to a positive case that was discovered at the store, but we're still waiting for some more information from the health authority about that case. For example, we've asked when it was discovered. As you mentioned, though, this testing drive tomorrow is exclusively for employees of the store. There is no demand or no request made to shoppers or visitors to the store that they especially get tested. However, of course, if you feel like you're sick or feel like you have symptoms of COVID-19, it's always a good idea to call 811. Now, the store itself announced late last month that 2 of its employees had tested positive and others in the store were told to self-isolate. We don't know right now for sure whether those 2 cases announced May 29th are what prompted this testing drive that's going to take place tomorrow. Tomorrow, all of the Walmart employees here in Gander will be able to go to the testing site. It's at the arena in town, and have either a rapid test or a standard test done. The clinic runs from 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. tomorrow, and it's drop-in only, so you cannot make an appointment. If you're headed for the site tomorrow, Central Health does advise that you expect to wait some time depending on the traffic. Reporting live for Here Now, I'm Garrett Barry in Gander.
Well, the mood is also tense in Stephenville tonight. The West Coast town, along with the St. George's and Port-au-Port Peninsula areas, have been in alert level 4 for more than a week because of a COVID-19 outbreak. Here Now's Colleen Connors has more.
Well, here in Corner Brook, things are as normal as they can be during a pandemic. But down the highway on the west coast here in Stephenville, Bay St. George, and the Port-au-Port Peninsula, many are still under alert level 4. That means that many restaurants and bars are closed, many businesses are closed, and many from public health are being asked to work from home and stay at home whenever possible. Now, Susan Fallow is the deputy mayor of Stephenville, and she gives us a sense of what the mood is like there.
Certainly, I think, people were a little more concerned as the numbers started to come in.
Fallow says people are feeling the tension with more than 30 cases connected to the cluster with no known source of infection. More than 2,000 COVID-19 tests have been completed in the area with no signs of widespread transmission.
Maybe 9 days or so, 10 days.
But concerned parents like Keith Muse still don't understand why the school district and public health kept the schools open when guidelines suggest staying home as much as possible.
Anxious, obviously, and it's just a lot of confusion. I mean, we expected, if there were cases in schools, if there was cases in town, especially of unknown origin, I mean, we just can't figure out some of the decisions that are being made.
Muse and his son are in isolation when Kimball came in close contact with a positive case connected with the school. Muse says parents are scared and keeping their children home.
You literally have cases in schools, and how can you manage that? The kids don't keep their masks on all day. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. We shouldn't put the safety of a community on the shoulders of little kids.
The health department says there has not been a risk identified in schools, and schools typically remain open during Alert Level 4. The best way to protect schools is to keep transmission of COVID-19 in the community low. That's why Fowlo urges residents to follow health guidelines and remain in their bubble.
I think we just need to hang in there, do the best we can, continue to follow the protocols from public health, and continue to put our faith in the information that they're giving us, even though often that's challenging, as we talked about. But we have to assume that the experts are the ones who are in the know, and that we don't always have all the information, so we have to put our faith in them.
Public health says that the start of this cluster, the reason behind it is still really unknown, and they are still investigating as to why there is this cluster in the Stephenville area of the province. Colleen Connor, CBC News, Corner Brook.
Well, now to Labrador, where a 30-year-old man in Hopedale was found unresponsive, trapped beneath an ATV early this morning. A resident discovered the man around 6:30 a.m. on Center Avenue. He was later pronounced dead at the scene. The man was not wearing a helmet and appeared to be riding alone. The RCMP are investigating. Well, do you recognize these men? Police are still looking for them after a bank robbery yesterday in St. John's. The pictures were taken around noon. The Bank of Montreal on Newfoundland Drive was the target, but police haven't said what, if anything, the thieves got away with. They're looking for dash cam footage from anyone who was at the CIBC in Churchill Square yesterday from 11:30 to 11:50 a.m. to aid in their investigation. Good news for tech-savvy students in the province. Some barriers to IT education are being broken down for college students. Students from Kean College will be able to transition to CNA to get a post-diploma of information management. The agreement is the first of its kind between a private and public college in this province. It was signed earlier today and will kick in this September.
The importance of expanding and supporting a digital workforce cannot be overstated in our province. Having career paths such as the one we are announcing here today provides students with the ability to expand their training to areas that are in high demand.
When we were students, you thought of IT as somebody sitting in front of a computer doing coding or something boring. But today, tech is so much more than that.
Well, the Education Minister had more good news for high school students. A $2,500 tuition voucher that high school students can get in the Technology Career Pathways program. That can be used for MUN, CNA, and also for Kean College. Well, in other news, Memorial University's medical school is struggling to balance its books. And we're not talking pocket change here, but millions every year. So one of the measures being considered to ease this pattern of deficits is a tuition increase. Here now's Terry Roberts reports.
And so when I came here,
Margaret Steele is one enthusiastic dean of medicine.
I love this place. There's great learners, great staff, great faculty.
But she also has a problem. She runs a medical school that can't seem to live within its means.
In the last few years, we've had an operating deficit of about $4 million.
The school receives an annual operating grant of $55 million from the health department, covering about 80% of the faculty's costs. But there's still plenty of red ink every year, requiring additional payments from the public treasury. It's an issue that caught the attention of the Economic Recovery Team and is referenced in its final report, The Big Reset. Author Moya Green says the health department has made nearly $20 million in additional payments to the medical school in the last 3 years.
We're always looking at ways that we can improve things.
So what's going on? The dean says it dates back to this, an expansion of the medical school at a time when the province was flush with oil money and there was a critical shortage of doctors. The province beefed up the med school's grant by $12 million. But when the oil money dried up, that extra money was cut. And for years, the med school has been trying to adjust.
We've actually saved about $8 million, if you think about it. And so we have a crackerjack finance team here. And so we have done a number of things.
The school is pinching every penny, says Steele. 10 faculty and 19 staff positions have been eliminated through attrition. Some administrative units have been merged.
We send quarterly reports to the Department of Health and Community Services, and we truly are working effectively, I believe, in the faculty to try to address these issues.
And tuition rates have gone up, way up, more than doubled in recent years to more than $14,000, but still among the lowest in Canada. So the dean is not ruling out further increases.
It's definitely something that we would look at and work with the government around.
And she's ready to do more.
Is it enough? Well, we can look at other options. We're open to that discussion.
The health minister says he understands that collective agreements make it impossible to cut tenured faculty. So he wants the med school to get leaner in another area.
Certainly there is some duplication of back office functions. And I think one of the things we'll be looking at over the course of the next few months is how to amalgamate those, maybe with RHA or with the big mon, with the university itself.
Haggie believes the deficit problem can be slayed by next year.
I think it's possible to achieve those savings.
The dean is not so sure.
Relative to other faculties of medicine across the country, people will say to me that we are incredibly lean.
One thing that won't change, says the dean, is the faculty's reputation for producing competent, highly trained physicians. Terry Roberts, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, it was sunny and hot across the province today, and these folks in Gander made sure to get out and enjoy it. Gander today hit 30.7 degrees, the hottest day there since June 25th of 2020, which was also the hottest day in Gander all of last summer. So from feeding the ducks to playing in the pond to going for a walk in the park, this was a day to be outdoors. We'll take a look at temperatures and what's in store for tomorrow after the break.
Welcome back. Well, there's been something blowing in the wind in Western Labrador for the past week. It's dust from the tailings at the two mines, the Iron Ore Company of Canada and Takora, which owns the former Wabash mines. Now, government says the mild spring and high winds have caused the dust to blow around. The companies typically take measures to mitigate it, but usually later in the summer. The MHA for the area says the time to act is now.
We're seeing a lot more wind, we're seeing a lot more dry temperatures, so a lot of the dust and stuff from the mining site seems to be kicked up a lot more, and you know, we're looking for you know, the mitigation is just not there to keep the dust down, especially during mining activities in the summertime. The mining companies need to take responsibility. You know, this has been a record year for mining in the region. You know, they're making a great profit off of our resources. The mining companies need to take responsibility and implement and spend the money on solutions of like watering, hydro seeding, things like that. They need to take responsibility. I know it's a great summer to actually do it.
Meanwhile, a Labrador City Councillor says the town is working with the companies to correct the issue.
As a town, we will continue to work very closely, monitoring the dust levels and researching with the mining companies here in the area to try and hopefully eventually mitigate. There has been a lot of rehydration done on the tailings, and that of course cuts down on the amount of dust, but any dust needs to be addressed. With IOC, we actually sit on a joint planning committee, and part of the joint planning committee is addressing the levels of dust. So on a regular basis, we work with the mines and keep each other informed as to what is happening. So it's not just when there's an issue.
Nick McGraw says IOC has been building mounds, marshes, and small ponds at the tailings site to help. The Environment Department says Takora, meanwhile, has an annual revegetation program that usually starts in July. That will now start as soon as possible. Government also says its air monitoring stations are not registering any particulates higher than normal, but will continue to monitor.
This weather update is brought to you by Newfoundland and Labrador Tourism. It's time to explore the Great Wide Open. Plan your trip at yourbackyardbeckons.ca.
Jeremy is here now with a look at the weather. Hi, Jeremy.
Hi, Carolyn. How are you?
Good,
it's just
good,
pretty
very
lonely
well.
here without Peter or Anthony here.
Yes,
so
just the two of us tonight.
Just the two of us. Did you get out today?
I got out early this morning for a dog walk, but I didn't get out this afternoon. I looked out the window wishing I was outside because it just looked amazing.
And it was amazing.
Yeah, and you were out, right?
I was out this morning, but I drove by Bannerman Park about 5 o'clock, I guess, just to have a quick look. And it was wall to wall. It looked like the old Peace Accord days for the people old enough to remember that concert in the park.
That. Yes, I do.
But anyway, so I got a chance to hang out there in the park, and we tried to have a little bit of fun, socially distant, of course. And here's a look at a little bit of that tape we gathered earlier today. It's hot, it's sunny, and I'm sweating. So I decided to come to Bannerman Park to see what everybody is doing to try to get out and enjoy the sunshine, because today is shaping up to be the hottest day of the year so far. Woo! What is this newfangled game you young folks are playing in the park?
So it's sort of like a cross between volleyball and foursquare, square ball, I guess. And you play 2-on-2 typically, and you're basically like rallying back and forth, trying to make it so that your opponent can't spike it back.
We're supposed to get a high of about 26 degrees. Is this hot enough? Would you like it to be hotter, or how do you feel?
This is perfect. I'm from here, but I live in Toronto, and my friends back in Toronto are like fully dying right now, and it's almost too hot, so this is like the perfect summer day.
What's your favorite thing to do on a hot day like today?
Just going out, going for a walk, coming to a park. That's it, no more, because yeah, then it will be too hot. Although I'm used to hot. I'm from Colombia and I'm used to hot. So I love this, I absolutely love it.
I know you're from Egypt, but you married a Newfoundlander. How long have you been here now?
I've been here almost 4 years now.
What's your favorite thing to do on a sunny day like today?
Honestly, Newfoundland is so beautiful when it comes to hikes and stuff like that. So I like always to go for hikes. I like going for walks with my friends and stuff like that. But mainly hiking. The East Coast Trail is beautiful, and yeah, that's basically it. Yeah.
Do you like the hot weather like this?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you like coming here with your mom?
Yes, but I'm always hungry all the time.
Man, I know exactly what you mean.
My goodness, that was adorable.
So that was young Nathan. He was a very sweet fellow. He's a little bit hungry, I guess, but he's a very sweet fellow. But as you can see, it was a very hot day, and that was early this morning, and I was already sweating, and it only got worse.
Yeah.
So let's take a look, because there were some high highs today, and I wrote them down in my hand so I don't mess it up. So what we're looking at here, Badger was the first place in the province to hit 30 degrees, and that would have been a little bit earlier today. Now they're sitting at 31 degrees. Now, the other hot spot there, as you can see, it's not really, there's Terra Nova, so that's down 32. What was it? 32.3 degrees, the hottest there in a couple of years. Gander hit 30.7. That's the hottest day that they've had since this time last year. And St. John's there hit 27.3, and that's the hottest day for about a year that we've had here as well. But it wasn't just Newfoundland. Labrador saw some pretty high temperatures, 19 in Happy Valley Goose Bay, 17 in Labrador City. Now, if you're sitting at home wondering, I was like, Jeremy, how does this compare to other places in Eastern Canada and Eastern North America? Well, I found this slide, and that'll just show you. So what we're looking at was pretty hot all the way around. You can see Boston hit 35, 30 in Sudbury, only 26 in Toronto, 29 in Montreal. So it was a hot day in Eastern Canada, but currently we're sitting at 25 degrees here in St. John's. It's 30 in Terra Nova, 24 in Corner Brook, 20 in Blanc-Sablon. Now earlier today, and I forgot to mention this, but I have it on my hand, it hit 24.1 degrees in Lancelot, and that's the hottest temperature that they've seen there in a while. I've forgotten the year. I should have wrote that on my hand as well. I apologize for that. So, are these hot temperatures going to stay around? That's what you're all wondering. The answer, no. So, what's going to happen here is you can see the future tracker. There's not really much on it, which is good. So, at 6 o'clock tonight, we're going to roll it a little bit. You can see there's a little bit of precipitation off the coast there of Labrador, but that's not going to affect anything. Then the clouds start to come over, but it's going to be a pretty clear night here on the islands. You're going to be sitting about 9 degrees in Marystown, St. John's, Port aux Basques, 6 in St. Anthony, 7 in Corner Brook. And then if we move up to Labrador, we're going to be sitting there. It's going to get a little bit colder up there. So you're sitting at 1 degree in Labrador City. It's going to be about 2 degrees in Nain, 3 in Cartwright. And you can see there's a bit of precipitation there. Cartwright is going to get maybe 2 millimeters of rain. But now there is a system coming in, and I'm hoping that this next future tracker shows it. Yeah. So you see all that, the blue stuff. How can I get over there? There we go. So that's snow coming in, which is coming down from the north. A bit of a trough, I guess. I'm not really quite sure. Again, I'm not a meteorologist. So that's going to come in throughout Wednesday, and you can see it over the big land there. It's going to bring some pockets of rain, pockets of showers, and there's a possibility that you'll see some pockets of flurries. So you can see just up there off Nain, there's a little bit of blue there. So that could bring through Nain, and maybe Postville and Makkovik might see a few flurries, but really there's going to be no accumulation. There's going to be no centimeters. You won't have to do any shoveling. But let's take a quick look at tomorrow. And as you can see, as we looked at the future tracker earlier, all the clouds have moved off. So it's going to be a pretty clear day here on the Avalon and into the Bonavista and Burin Peninsulas. And then as you move across, but now look at these temperatures. We just talked about Gander. It's going to be like, it was 30, what is it? 30.7. Tomorrow it's going to be looking at a high of 15. These are the normal temperatures for this time of year. It's not abnormal to be up into the 30s as it was, but it was not normal. Now, Harbor Brenton, you'll be a lucky person if you're down there, 21 degrees. And then we'll move across. As you can see, it's going to be sunny all along the west coast. And then when you move up to the northern peninsula and the straits, there will be a little bit of cloud cover. And there you can see those rain clouds in Cartwright. And it's going to be a little bit chillier in Labrador. As you can see, Makkovik is going to get a bit of rain. And then Labrador City could get not big amounts, but just a little bit of rain. So it was a hot day today. The temperature is going to plummet overnight, but the sun will come back, and we'll talk all about that later on in the show.
Anti-Muslim racism
like anti-Black racism, anti-Indigenous racism, is here in this province.
Looking beyond London. Just ahead, spotting and calling out Islamophobia here at home. Returning now to London, Ontario, where a Muslim family targeted in a deadly attack is being remembered for their warmth and generosity. Tonight, the mosque where they celebrated their faith is holding a vigil. The Prime Minister is expected to be there. Police say the driver of a speeding pickup deliberately swerved onto the curb Sunday, killing 3 generations of a Muslim family: a father, mother, teenage daughter, and grandmother. The family's 9-year-old boy, the sole survivor, remains in hospital. A 20-year-old man has been charged with 4 counts of murder and 1 count of attempted murder. Police say the attack was planned and the family was targeted because of their faith. Not far from the site, a growing memorial of flowers and messages from a community still struggling to understand.
I'm lost because we were shocked to hear this, and when we were watching news, he was with us. So he's listening to all these new words about hate crime, Islamophobia. So now for me to go to the next gear and start telling him what all these terms are, and these terms, they don't need to be here.
Honestly, I think we all feel some personal connection to this, whether or not we're from this faith, whether or not we know this family. We're all part of this community and we all care about them. And I think this is a really good example of that, of Londoners coming together from all different backgrounds to show that we really care about this issue and we really care about this child and hope that he's going to be okay.
To get here today, I walked. And a couple of times I stopped and waited for the light to turn green. And I never once thought about my personal safety. And everybody deserves that same right.
Well, that terrible act of violence in London, Ontario is being felt right across the country, including here in Newfoundland and Labrador. Joining me now is Dr. Sobiya Sheikh of the province's Anti-Racism Coalition and co-lead of the Addressing Islamophobia project. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So we have yet another targeted attack on people of Muslim faith. What went through your mind when you heard that this had happened?
I just, I guess, incredulity, like shock. I was really upset by it.
Now, this 20-year-old man has been charged with murder and attempted murder, but many people are calling this a terrorist attack, including the Prime Minister. What do you think about that?
I think that is an adequate descriptor. I mean, it's an execution, and it's horrific. It's beyond words, and especially in the face of what we've been dealing with the 215 children confirmed to be in Kamloops in the residential school, and we've just been dealing with that. So it feels like a continuation of white supremacy and settler colonialism, and it's very upsetting.
Now, we've seen other acts of violence against Muslims. There was the massacre at the Quebec City Mosque. A member of a mosque in Toronto was stabbed in September. And we've also heard about various acts of harassment against Muslim women in Edmonton. So when you look at all of these things together, how concerning do you think is the level of Islamophobia in Canada right now?
Well, Islamophobia and anti-Muslim racism is on the rise. It's happening here in this province. It's happening in all provinces. And we're hearing more and more about it. In the past, and even sometimes currently, Muslim community folks are not as quick to talk about it, but it happens on the daily. And it's something that is rising. We've seen it online in terms of online hate. We've seen residents here in this province calling themselves Islamophobe, and with very little repercussions. We've seen institutions protect folks that are Islamophobic, anti-Muslim, racist. So it's really disturbing.
And to your point, I think some people in this province may see that violence and that racism in other parts of Canada and think to themselves, that couldn't happen here in Newfoundland and Labrador. What do you think about that attitude, and what would you say to someone who does feel that way?
I guess I would ask them to look around. I would ask them to look at their social media, the social media of their friends and their families. I would ask them to talk to Muslims, ask people, what kinds of experiences they've had or what they've heard of. I think you need to look around. I think that it's here. I think that we see it as part of the Anti-Racism Coalition. We hear about it all the time on an individual basis. It gets reported to us all the time. So anti-Muslim racism, like anti-Black racism, anti-Indigenous racism, is here in this province. It's very much part and parcel of our culture here.
The Prime Minister also said today that hate is often fueled by small actions that can turn into ugly trends and then real violence. He talked about, the jokes that aren't funny and the casual racism. What do you make of that?
He's right. And he's right, but it's not just in the casual racism, it's in our institutions, it's in how police respond to it. It's the creation of residential schools, it's the creation of the immigration system. I mean, it's part and parcel. Anti-Muslim hate and Islamophobia and all forms of racism and colonialism are very much part of our institutions. And yes, it is in those little moments, and it's in the big moments as well. And we can't forget that they're linked.
Well, Sobia Sheikh, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us today.
Well, thank you.
Leading up to National Indigenous Peoples Day, which is June 21st, Here and Now is bringing you stories from the Labrador Friendship Centre and the Shield Project. Now we start with Spotted Island. It's near Black Tickle off the coast of southern Labrador. Labradorians have been traveling there for more than a century, many making a living fishing for cod. Philip Snow's ancestors made many trips there, and when asked what being Indigenous means to him, he had this to say.
Hello guys, my name is Philip Snow and I'm in grade 8 and I'm from Goose Bay. A place that I would really enjoy to go would have to be Spotted Islands. It's a relaxing place to enjoy with your friends and family. It's a place on the south coast of Labrador, and that's where my ancestors grew up. Each year in the summertime, my family went to Spotted Islands. When they were there, they went fishing a lot. They went out in a small boat and used a jigger to get the fish. I actually have a very old jigger from my great-great-grandfather, and to hold this in my hand means a lot because it's from my ancestors and it's from the past and you can't have a duplicate of it. Also, this is like what my ancestors used to catch like loads of fish, and like to hold this in my hand, this means like the world because like it's from the past and it's amazing. It wasn't just that. Seal hunting was a really big part of Spotted Islands, and this ulu was used to like take the sealskin and scrape it off to use to craft their sealskin boots to keep them warm and all that. And my great uncle's mom used this tool to scrape actually like make these boots, and these are really, really like unique and special and really actually rare because these were really old. I learned a whole lot of information from like my ancestors that I never knew before, and I learned so much like new stuff of like what it means to be Indigenous, and like I could just start a new adventure by like going seal hunting with my dad even, or like with my mom. I could cook, learn how to bake, loads of more different stuff like about what I know, what I can do for the future time, and I can even like tell other people about it. That's what being Indigenous means to me. I think Spotted Islands would be an incredible place to go, because if I ever get the chance to go, I would really enjoy it because I would spend time with my pop fishing and loads of more stuff, and I would learn how to seal hunt and more. In the end, if you ever get the chance to go, definitely take it, because from my experience and what I heard, Spotted Islands would be sick.
Oh, that was a great show and tell. Thanks for that, Philip. Well, when the pandemic hit, community gatherings became a lot harder or couldn't happen at all. Luckily, one Manitoba Métis leader decided you can always take the show on the road, and thanks to him, sounds of fiddle music can be heard in and around Winnipeg.
Well, when they hear the music, like we're in the homeland of the Métis, when they hear the music, the fiddle music, that's our Métis music. I took it another step. I've given out little flags. So when the kids see the flags, they relate to the music. When they hear the music, they relate to the flag. So that seed is planted at a very early age. My name is Alfred Buck Anderson. Everybody knows me as Bucky. Oh, it just makes me so heartwarming when I see them running just like a stampede, like a magnet, eh? And they're all trying to dance. And they're waving, and they all call me by name. A few times I made the mistake by driving by the school when they were in class and disrupted their classes. That was the only negative thing.
He has really brought a lot of joy to not only the staff, but especially the kids. And I think it's so important for our students to see their culture reflected where they can see it.
When the COVID hit, people missed out on all our cultural events like Indigenous Day, Canada Day, Manitoba Day, Selkirk Fair and Rodeo. So I had that van sitting there and I got thinking, well, why don't I bring the music to the people?
Everybody, as soon as they hear him, they're outside. I can hear him for miles, and I'm out on my balcony watching him, and I start filming him when he's over at the stop sign waiting for him to come in, because it really enlightens our hearts.
Certainly cheers us up, that is for sure.
people are getting so depressed being indoors all the time. And you saw it today as we went around and talked with the elders when they come out clapping. All of the school kids that come out. So like today we made the whole ram. We went from the daycare, started off in the daycare, then we went to the schools, the juniors, then we went to junior high, then we ended up at the comp, and then we did the elders. So we did the whole realm, and the feedback is all the same. It's all positive.
Well, I hope anyone working in Corner Brook today had an excuse to sneak outside, because at noon the sun was shining and it felt like 27 degrees with the humidex.
Yes, walking trails surrounding Margaret Bowater Park were very popular today. It was a great day to swing at the playground or just to take your lunch outside.
Yeah, a lot of people had a very beautiful day today.
Yes, but
you
it's
know,
not going to stick around.
Nah, it's not going to stick around. The sun's going to stick around. But I just want to show you something real quick here on the future tracker. If you can see it, I'm just going to wander over here and figure out where I am. So we talked a little bit about that. There is a chance of snow. Where am I? I'm right here. So there's a little chance of snow up there. Here it is. So that's just that little bit that pocket could bring pockets, I guess, a little bit of rain and a little bit of wet flurries and some flurries for like Nain, Postville, and Makovic. But other than that, there's not really much to worry about. Oh God, I didn't do the future tracker. I didn't set it up. Can you mind hitting, you're supposed to hit a button and I didn't hit the button. So Carolyn is kind enough that she's going to hit the button. So what's going to happen now is, for the rest of the island, there is going to be a lot of sun, but the temperatures are going to be a lot lower. So as we were talking earlier, it's going to be about half of what it was. And thanks to Carolyn, it's back. Round of applause. As you can see, the rain is going to come in on Thursday, and you can see that there's a little bit of blue there. There's a chance that there could be some flurries, but that's higher elevations. But as you can see, most of the island is probably going to get a little bit of rain, and then it's going to push off as Thursday comes to an end. But you can see there's a lot of rain showers for the entire province, except for Labrador City on Thursday. So it's going to be a wet day. It's going to be sunny tomorrow for a lot of the island, but then it's going to be rainy. And then as you look ahead to the future tracker, you're going to see that that rain is going to push off again. And so what's going to happen there is that you're going to have a nice sunny Friday. Look at that. There's sun all across the board, except for Port aux Basques, where there's a chance that you get a little bit of rain, but not too much. So as we move into Friday overnight and into Saturday, you can see the rain is going to, a few pockets there, a few drops of rain over the weekend. But the good news is it's going to look at all this. Look at all the sun there. Like I said, there's going to be a little bit of rain across the island on Thursday. But there's some pretty seasonal temperatures there. A little bit warmer in central, but a lot of sun, a little bit of clouds there, but not really much to worry about. And then on the west coast, it's the same thing. So it's going to be a pretty nice weekend so far on the island. And then as we move up there into Labrador, same sort of thing. There's a little bit of rain coming in, a chance for a little bit of, like maybe a few, you might see some flurries in Nain, Postville, and Makovic, maybe, but we'll talk more about that tomorrow. That's going to happen Wednesday night. And then Western Labrador is going to see a bit of rain, and then it's sun. So everybody is going to be sitting pretty good. And that's good news. You know, this job is a lot easier when there's a lot of sun in the forecast and not a lot of rain. Now here's our weather photo of the day. So this was sent in by Diane King of some of her family members cooling off at Eastport Beach, where she was estimating that it was about 33 degrees.
Wow. What a day.
Can't complain.
Nope, not one bit.
Great day. Great day to be the weather person.
Yes, for sure. Well, before we finish up, we just want to tell you about some more journalism awards that CBCNL picked up.
So today we won 3 Atlantic Journalism Awards. Our very own Garrett Berry, who you saw earlier live in Gander, won gold for Best Video Journalist.
Well, mostly pine grosbeaks, white-throated sparrows.
What a shot.
Fox sparrows. Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness, indeed. This is one of Garrett's stories. The judges considered his profile of the bird whisperer of Twillingate, a man who finds comfort by spending time with birds after experiencing a traumatic event.
And look out, what a dreamboat Garrett is. His hair, he always has such a nice head of hair on that guy. Anyway, the judges viewed some of his work from Central as well as some of the stories from his recent time in Happy Valley Goose Bay as well.
And CBCNL also won a Gold Atlantic Journalism Award for enterprise reporting for its coverage of domestic violence.
So in this series, which launched last year, reporter Ariana Kelland and producer Rob Antle reported on several aspects of intimate partner violence, including the children caught in the middle.
Yes, this is the team's 3rd Journalism Award win this year for this story, so congratulations for that. And Rebecca Nolan, a freelance journalist with CBC, won gold for a radio feature called The Mystery of the Portuguese Waltzes. Congratulations to everyone.
So not too shabby, a good show by all. So
yeah.
A big round of applause for everybody else. And a big round of applause for Carolyn Stokes, who saved my bottom on the old weather. Because if you don't got the slides, what do you got?
I'm glad I'm wearing my comfy shoes tonight because I was able to run.
A few notes on my hands. That's all I got. Anyways,
Good night.
Thanks for tuning in.